Hello and welcome back to the Birdcage. I am Jack Kenna, joined alongside Alex King, and I am red. I've been picking at my face all day, so that's why I look like this.
Okay, bro, you look great.
But the Creighton Bluejays have been playing some pretty good basketball as of late. You came on to preview Xavier, which was 2 games ago, right?
Yeah,
And
the
that
weekend.
was when Culk became the winningest player in Creighton basketball history. Let's start off there. We're gonna miss him a lot next year, and we've
Yeah.
talked about the future of the center position. But what was your favorite Kalkbrenner moment? What's been your favorite Kalkbrenner moment so far, if you
Oh
have one?
man,
I know he's
this
kind of
is
like
tough.
he,
Well, it was pretty awesome when he dropped 50 this year, but honestly, that didn't really mean much considering.
yeah,
I think specifically a specific play last year against Oregon is in overtime. Baylor Shinerman, it was like 2 seconds left on the shot clock, and he threw it up to Kalkbrenner for a lob dunk. I don't know if you remember that, but it was clutch. Like Baylor pivoted and tossed it up, and he dunked it with like a second left. I don't know if you remember that,
I do remember that play. That was crazy. We dominated them in that OT period. I don't
in
know.
double T. But
I
yes,
yeah, that's what I meant, double OT. But I'm thinking about my favorite Culk memory, and I nothing's coming to mind. So I'm gonna have to come back to that. He's special though.
yeah,
I just couldn't tell you probably what my favorite Culkbrenner
his
moment is.
name will be in
Surely
the
it's
papers.
yeah, for sure. Surely it's something against UConn.
Yeah, he probably dunked on
But
somebody or
he
something.
probably dunked on somebody or
Or
did something crazy,
blocked freaking
Klingon
yeah, playing in.
or somebody on that Adama Sanogo. I look really red. I can't even look at myself right now.
You're good, but don't worry about it.
But yeah, he's definitely has a cool moment up there. So I guess that leads us to the Xavier game. Pretty much, well, we were watching it together. We know what happened.
Yeah.
Creighton was up quite a bit, and then Xavier kind of came back, made a little run because their guards are just so good. Xavier has some of like the best backcourt in the Big East. You can argue a lot of different teams there, but
I
Xavier's
think Fremantle's
team
kind
is
of a beast.
talented. And we got out to a big lead, like you said, Fremantle. We can talk about him all you want. He's been in college basketball for 8, 9 years now, it seems. I remember being in high school getting bad at Fremantle, and
A long time ago.
that was a long time ago.
Or
And
Unk.
then Ashworth comes off of a screen, hits a wide open three, and does the night
Tough.
celebration, which was really tough.
Yeah,
I saw
Kalkbrenner
that on
dropped
an edit.
29.
Saw that on an edit the other day, by the way.
I've been getting a lot of edits too, and they get me pretty hyped.
Yeah, they do give you hype. And Cole did drop 29. I don't know how
Yeah,
it just escaped my head.
kind of
He was
quiet.
he was easily the best player on the floor, and it was really fun watching him get the ball and score it every
And
time.
Sean Miller, after the game, had such high praise for Creighton and for Kalkbrenner, and I think, I think that was nice.
Yeah. This is the Creighton team that I love my Blue Jays. This is the weakest Creighton team in a while.
They're playing so high above their like what they should be.
I think it's because they actually know the rules. Whereas
Yeah,
in years past, Arthur Kaluma's checking up a bunch of 3-pointers, and you're like, dude, what the hell? And then last year, you just didn't really have enough depth. We didn't have anybody else. This year, the team is, I know like we've been pretty critical about the roster construction of this team, but there have been games where Jason Green's been terrific since he started. But you have Jason Green, Mason Miller, Trout, McAndrew, Fedor. You have five, 6 guys that you can just sub in and play, and not everyone's going to get equal minutes each game, but it's kind of like you pick your poison for that game. And I think that's what's really helped this team. Because if we were kind of like last year's group, Farabella was the only one who came off the bench.
hmm,
Trout did for a little bit, and then they
yeah,
were
but
like
postseason I didn't at
yeah,
all.
he didn't really contribute in the postseason. So I feel like that's a big part of the success for this team is just
Yeah, we had a lot of
options.
movement.
You have options, but it's not like Ashworth and Kalkbrenner are still a two-headed monster. They've been incredible this year.
Well, I imagine come postseason, King will play when Kalkbrenner's and can't play, which is going to be very rare.
Uh-huh.
I think Mason Miller only played for like a minute against Xavier, so I can imagine he'll
He's
play a
played 10
lot.
minutes the last two games.
Yeah. I think Fedor will maybe get some minutes, and I think Trout will get minutes, but other than that, I can't imagine there will be much. But I do like that we have more options.
Yeah, it just provides something different, something that
Hmm.
we just haven't had the past 2 years. So the Xavier game was a really much needed win because that's a talented team and you just needed to take care of business at home. And then our parents were fortunate enough to go out to Philadelphia to watch the Creighton Villanova game. And I think on my preview for that game, I was really optimistic about the Blue Jays, but in reality, I thought we were going to lose that game just
It's
because
tough to
Eric
play in
Dixon
Philly.
in the past, Eric Dixon has most definitely had our number. Uga Poplar decided he wanted to play some basketball, and then Brickus, Jameer Brickus, I think that's his name.
He
I think it's
toasted us. Or no, Poplar toasted us. I don't know
yeah,
who.
Poplar toasted us. I think his first name is Jameer
Mm.
Brickus. Um, he played pretty well in Omaha, and he has been looking better as of late for Villanova. And that was just a Villanova team that was coming off a little bit of a skid, but showed earlier in the year that they can win Big East games. And I mean, that's a place where UConn lost. So whenever you have to go somewhere like that, it's not an easy win. And so I was pretty nervous about it. But we shouldn't have won that game. Let's be clear. But Creighton
Mhm.
did enough to walk out of Philadelphia with a win.
We just out turnover our opponents like every game. And that's our biggest flaw. Is there's
And
18-6 in turnovers, which is
so
absurd.
and Villanova played bad. Let's
Yeah.
not let's not
Dixon
ignore that fact. If Creighton
Dixon
turns the
only
ball
had
over 10 times, just 10 times, Creighton probably wins that game by 10 points.
10 plus, yeah. Well, Dixon only had 17, considering he averages like 27 against us, and I took his over and he didn't hit it. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, we should. Jason Green shut down Eric Dixon. I mean, I say shut down. He had 17 points, but
No,
like
that's as good as you can do against Eric Dixon.
he had six free throws, and other than that, he had 11 points.
That's as good as you can do against a player like Eric Dixon. He scores
Yeah,
at will, and Jason Green was terrific defensively. Offensively, he was a dumpster fire of
he's nothing
chaos.
offensively, but I think we just have
But
to take that.
you needed to have somebody because let's be real, we listed the squad of 5 or 6 that we got out of those dudes. You're not gonna put Trout on them. Trout actually did a decent job when he was switched on to Eric Dixon,
Mhm.
as good as he could do. But you weren't gonna put Miller on him.
Yeah.
You weren't gonna put McAndrew on him. Absolutely weren't gonna put Fedor on him.
Hmm.
So you were left with Jason Green and Trout. And I
Yeah.
don't think either one of those two did anything too crazy offensively. I don't even know if Trout even put up a shot.
He was
Maybe
0 for
0 for
3 from
2,
3.
0 for 3.
Yeah.
But Jason Green got a few transition buckets and he guarded Dixon.
Mhm.
So you can't really be too upset with his performance. He turned the ball over, I think, 4 times.
Yeah.
I don't have the stats up, and one of them was a horrifically bad shot clock violation.
After a timeout.
But yeah, after a timeout, which you just can't have. But he did so well against Dixon that you take the turnovers.
Yeah. I'll tell you what stood out to me this game. Um, they went on like a huge run because we were up by like 10. And then Cal Neptune called a freaking timeout, which made zero sense because I was literally screaming at the TV for Greg McDermott to call a timeout because for some reason he doesn't like to. Um,
Neptune did it for us.
yeah, he just did it for us. And then after that, we like outplayed him. It didn't make any sense. I don't think Cal Neptune's a very good coach. I think he'll probably get fired, if not this year, next year without Eric Dixon. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, and the Ashworth spanked three. I don't even know how that works physically because he's in the corner and he hit someone hit the backboard and it went in. But
Yeah,
it was awesome.
we're gonna talk about that actually right now. I'm gonna pull up the box score for this game, and we're gonna go play by play. for the last little bit of time. So starts by, oh, hold up. Okay. Oh, this is the wrong game. That's why. Okay, you keep talking while I find the right game.
Well, I'll also tell you this was one of the games where very rare games where Ashworth gets in foul trouble. And I
Hmm.
just don't love that our solution to that is to play Ty Davis. I think we have to either move Fedor to the one or Jemiah Neal to the one because
Mhm.
Ty Davis, I think he has a bright future, but I don't think he's ready to play
No.
big time minutes.
And your dad touched on that because when Ty Davis kind of came in, I sent something to our group chat and I was like, why isn't Fedor playing? And your dad was
Mhm.
like, he doesn't really play the point guard, which is fine.
But
But
like
he's shown that he can
Jemiah,
handle the basketball a little bit.
yeah, and
And
Jemiah
I
Neal
would
never
much
played.
rather have Fedor try to do it than a freshman. And I listened to the Jays Classic podcast. They were talking about how a lot of, I think Creighton had four or a number along those lines of turnovers while Stephen Ashworth was in foul trouble in
Yeah.
the first. So it's like when you really think about it, Creighton turns the ball over 13 times a game, 17 turnovers, 18 turnovers. It was insane. But if
Oh,
you
yeah.
take
What?
away four of those, and Jason Green averages 17 minutes a game, and he had to play over 30.
Mm.
And so you pretty much cut his turnovers in half because he's definitely probably not playing in a shot clock situation if this isn't against Villanova Dixon. Then realistically, we are around 13, like 10 to 13 turnovers. So it's just like, it's little things like that. And we turned the ball over quite a bit when Kolkbrenner was out in foul trouble against Xavier. So the
Yeah,
offense
I'll
does
tell you
run a
what.
little differently when they're not on the floor, which makes sense.
I'll tell you what. It's like it's hard to blame turnovers when Ashworth's not on the floor because he also turns the ball over so much, and he had like the worst turnover ever to cost us the lead that should have cost us the game at the end of the game. So I mean,
He's
he's
looked, yeah,
fearless,
he's looked at as a hero from this Villanova game because
but he
realistically he
saved his
was.
ass.
He was a hero. I think he had 9 points the final 3 minutes of the game, all on three pointers. But you're completely right. If he doesn't hit that shot in the corner, he is looked at as the devil of the Villanova game because that pass
Yeah.
was so careless. And in those big games, like the Marquette game, where he turned the ball over a lot and was unable to contribute, and realistically, he didn't have very many points against Villanova now, or
Mm-mm.
against Villanova on Saturday, but he had some turnovers. So you look at it, and if you exclude those games, you take the offensive production you're getting from Ashworth in return for a few of those turnovers just because of how good he's been this year.
Mm.
There have definitely been times where he's been turning the ball over far too much. Almost had a triple double, quadruple double against St. John's because he had 10
Yeah.
turnovers.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't do that against good Big East teams, and Villanova almost caught us slipping up. But I have the final few minutes on this thing, on this like scouting, not scouting report, like this play-by-play up, and I kind of
Yeah.
want to know how you were feeling in the react or how you were feeling in the reactionary process. So we'll start here with 7 minutes left. Ruga Poplar makes a layup to go up five. And the score is 50 to 45. And at this point, I was like, okay, we were in there for a little bit, but the turnovers kill us. And then
Yeah.
Ashford drills a 3-pointer. What were your kind of feelings down five with 7 minutes to go?
Well, honestly, I can't really ever remember being that worried. I don't know. It was weird. I was confident, but I'm also looking at the play-by-play in the last 7 minutes. Wooga Poplar had like 10 points,
He
and
was terrific.
that doesn't really make sense. But I mean, down five, I was obviously probably worried, but then Ashworth immediately makes it three, and then throughout the rest of the game, it was pretty much a 2 point game. So I think I was always kind of
Mhm.
confident, at least knew it was gonna be close.
Yeah, I really wasn't. And this is something that Jay's Classic did, so I don't really want to just do the whole thing where he kind of goes by the play-by-play and is just like, look how amazing Ashworth was. in these final few minutes. If because if you want that, you can just go listen to that. But he made a lot of plays down the stretch. But Wooga Poplar was just so damn good for Villanova. Now we'll talk about this. Jemiah Neal got an offensive rebound and made a layup with 49 seconds to go up three. That was a foul. That's an and one.
Oh yeah, because he pump faked and he got the guy to jump, and then
Yeah.
he got fouled the first time he took it up too.
Yeah,
But
like that's an and one kind of layup. But in order to get that layup, in Mason Miller's only minute of action,
he did get an offensive
he
rebound.
poked the ball free.
Yeah,
And he doesn't get a stat for that. Like that's not a steal, that's not a rebound for Mason Miller, but that was his play.
yeah.
Right into the hands of Jemiah Neal for what should have been an and one layup. Your
I don't
dad
even know
texted
what.
our group chat before the play happened, so I knew
Yeah,
something
no,
happened.
I kept not paying attention to the group chat because they were spoiling it. But I
Yeah.
don't. I don't know why we played Mason Miller when he hadn't played all game, but that was a very good play by him.
I
So
mean,
I can't hate.
it was the craziest play I've seen from someone who played 1 minute of action in a while. Like the most game-changing play by someone who played 1 minute of gameplay. Because that sent Creighton up three.
Mhm.
And after this play, I did put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I didn't get any group chat alerts because YouTube TV is pretty far behind real
Yeah.
life time. And so I knew something good happened, so I was excited because at that point we were only up one and I was nervous. And then Jemiah Neal got scored on in like 2 milliseconds. Poplar just drove right past him. And I texted the group chat this after the play. I said, Wooga Poplar just makes Jemiah Neal look slow. Jemiah Neal's the most athletic player we've had in a Creighton jersey since Kaluma.
Hmm.
And you can even probably argue he's more athletic than Kaluma.
Yeah.
But Poplar just made him look so low.
Which is weird because I don't think Will Poplar's amazing. Like he's a good player, but he's not a top. He's not like an All-American.
Yeah, no. And he looked like an All-American in the second half of this game for sure.
Hmm.
And so then Creighton gets the ball back, and Ashworth is then, if this was the 1700s, Ashworth might have been, I'm not going there. I'm
I
not,
understand,
I'm not gonna go the Salem witch trial route.
but he
But
wasn't.
there would be questions that he was hypothetically a witch. The way he tried to give that game away to Villanova.
Yeah. Well, it was he had the worst turnover ever, and then we got the ball back, and he pulled it up from like 30 feet for no reason, and it
There's
was
so much time left to go. We could have genuinely gotten a good shot if Mac didn't want to call a timeout, which it didn't look like he was going to.
nope.
Ashworth airballs his three-pointer, and then Jason Green jumps out of bounds, grabs the ball, and verbally calls timeout.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I didn't know you could do that.
Well, so I saw a tweet. It was like there's a new rule this year that you can call it, but it didn't even. I don't know. Like he had time to jump out of bounds, grab it with one arm, timeout, call all while he was in the air.
No, it
Like
was
I
all
don't.
verbal. He didn't use his hands.
Yeah. I
And
mean, it's
so it's one of those Ashworth and Green said in the post game with John Bishop that they knew the rule because the Big East officials always send somebody to scrimmages or whatever to tell them new changes in the rules. That is not something I would remember.
no. But that's
And
why they're Division
so,
One basketball players and we're not.
yeah, so the fact that you're able to, first of all, remember that, second of all, grab possession, which is arguable for sure. But what wasn't arguable was the fact he called the timeout, and that was verbal. So pretty
Yeah.
much you go back to the monitor to check it, and then the ref's like, he called timeout. And so if it's a hard call to overturn.
Yeah, I can understand
So
why people were angry, but I also it's a rule.
I
So
saw a tweet that was pretty much like it was about the game, and someone was like, "Why are we trying to change basketball? Like, what's so wrong with the sport that we're doing these little nitty picky rule switches, rule change?"
yeah.
And that made sense. I
Mm.
can understand why Villanova fans would be a little upset about that
Well, that
game.
was a game-changing moment. Like
Yeah, for
if that
sure.
doesn't happen, we lose.
I already gave up. Like when that shot went up and he airballed, I was like, well, we shot ourselves in the foot with all the turnovers. You can't be too upset about it. But no, we make a great play, and then Steven Ashworth got way too wide open
How did that even happen?
on
I
that
was so
inbounds
confused.
play. That is the craziest play that I've seen from a like what's a crazier play in college basketball or the NBA?
Well,
Like I've never seen someone bank in a corner three like that to
well,
win
it doesn't
a
even
game.
physically make sense. Like I've seen that before, but not in that scenario. So it
How
was just
how do you
it
like
was so
that
funny
hit
because your
the
parents
most
are
perfect position on the backboard for that to happen?
yeah.
And my parents are right in the middle of it in
And you can
perfect
see that they
frame.
can tell that it's going a little bit to the left, and then they go like this, and then
My
somehow it
my
bangs in.
dad's not like this, and my mom's like this, and my mom like bends her head to like look to see like there's no possible way that should have went in.
Yeah, they've seen some good ass games. They went to the Marquette game a couple years ago where Alex O'Connell made a buzzer beater to send us to overtime. Like,
Yeah.
why don't they invite us? Why can't we go?
They don't invite us to these cool games, huh?
No.
But that happened, and then I I'm texting Isaac Trout, and I'm just like, that's the craziest shot I've ever seen. And then he's sitting there, and he's like, your parents' reaction was so funny.
Mhm.
So the fact that someone was able to pick out my parents in a video was pretty funny. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know, because you don't know who sees those videos, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
McDermott was like goofing around and was like, hey, look at these two goofballs in the back. Oh, hey, those are my parents. That's kind of cool. But it was one of those shots where it's like, that did not deserve to go in. After the 18-17 turnovers we had, after trying to give it away, that shot did not deserve to go in, but it did.
Yeah. No, that's like a season changing kind of moment. Like that's a Big East regular season title that would have gone away or a seed that would have changed. Like that was big time.
Yeah, it really was. You're right about that. The rest of our competition in the Big East is also ramping up. There is a lot of games that mean a lot in the coming weeks here. We play Providence tomorrow, who I am scared about because every
I
time we
know
have to
Providence
go
is
up
scary.
there, they could be the worst team in Division One. But if you have to go there and play, it's going to be a tough game. So that always has an opportunity to be a little scary. And then you go back to Omaha on Saturday and play Marquette, who right now is a top 10 team in the country, right? Because I know they lost to UConn.
Number 11.
They're 11th in the country right now. But then you have that game at home, and you should have beat them on the road. But that team is still good enough to where if you're not at your best, they will beat you, regardless of where the game's played.
Well, within 3 games, we have our two hardest games at home. It's or 3 days, sorry.
Yeah.
It's Saturday we play Marquette at home, and then Tuesday we play UConn at home, and then Sunday we go at to St. John's. Like there's a terrible 3 game stretch, but then after that, it kind of gets
Yeah.
easier.
And so it's just tough. What do you think the best case well, because we all know the worst case scenario is you lose every one of those games. You go 0 for 4. You lose at Providence, you lose at home to Marquette, to UConn, to St. John's. Is the best case scenario, well, the best case scenario is 4-0.
Yeah,
What's the more realistic scenario, you think?
I think realistically, one loss would be really good in those 4 game stretch, but I think 2 losses is probably more realistic.
I'm hoping you go 3-1, with your
Yeah,
one loss being on the road to St. John's.
yeah, or honestly, I think it's more likely we lose to Marquette or UConn. But no, we own
Think?
UConn, so Marquette probably.
I feel like there's just going to be so much like redemption material because Marquette has um I don't know what I was trying to say there. They've continued to try to spew Stevie Mitchell Defensive Player of the Year slander on the internet, and that's just not true. It's not. Stevie Mitchell's a great player, and I'll admit that. Nowhere near Defensive Player of the Year in the Big East. So I feel like, and Kalkbrenner missed 14 million shots that he usually makes against Marquette.
That was
So I
so
feel like,
frustrating.
and I feel like he's gonna want to go out there and redeem himself, get the better of Shaka Smart, and then Ashworth made 1 3. He 1 of 13.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna happen again, and that's not gonna happen at home. And those guys know what it's like to lose to Shaka and to lose to Marquette. Because that team is, on paper, better than Creighton. But recently and over the past month, they haven't played like it. According to Bart Torvik, since the Georgetown game, the day after the Georgetown game, Creighton is 20th in the country on his like metrics, with St. John's coming at 22, Marquette coming at like 30, and then UConn coming at like 34 or 32. So it's close, but Creighton's been the best of the four over the last month of play.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to want to lose that home game to Marquette. And then you have an opportunity to sweep UConn. Hopefully, we can beat Dan Hurley again.
I hate Dan Hurley.
I don't like them very much either. And then I don't think we're going to beat Rick Pitino in New York, but I mean, Providence took that game to OT, I'm pretty sure, or
Yeah, that
almost
was
to
kind of a
OT.
miracle though.
So anything's possible. Hopefully, we can get a
Yeah.
few wins out of those two, though.
I really wanna I really wanna keep winning. I like winning. It's kind of nice to see all the green.
Winning
So
is so much better than losing.
I'm a big fan.
So, before we get off, what is your game prediction for tomorrow at Providence
I think we win by 15. I
by
think it's
15?
I think it'll be stress free.
Do you remember how much we beat them by the last time?
Let me look. It was 84-64. I was at that game.
So it was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we do beat them, but I really, really, really want it to be stress free, and I just don't think it's going to be. I think Creighton gets a 10-point win off pretty much garbage time free throws. But yeah, I'll go 70-60. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope we blow them out, but I don't really know.
I don't know. It might be like a look ahead game kind of thing, but I don't really think I'm not really worried about that with this team. I don't know.
I just don't know if Providence has dudes to beat us, especially with Hopkins. He's not playing it this season. I don't think they have any killers who can necessarily beat us if we're not at our best. I mean, Mila, I think's his name, is that guard who started for them who's really good. He's a freshman, pretty
Hmm.
sure. But he's really talented. But I really trust Steven Ashworth and Kalkbrenner over him and whoever Providence wants to put as their center. So I think Creighton can get it done on the road.
I agree.
All righty. Thanks, Alex, for joining me today.
Of course.
For the rest of you guys, he will be back on shortly at some point next week or even this weekend before the Marquette game because that's an important one. Not that Providence isn't important, it's just we're praying that that game's not as close as I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But for me, for Alex, for everyone else who comes on here, that is all that we have today. Appreciate you guys for listening, and we will see you later.